Ask 100 guys who makes the first move in dating, and almost all of them will say, the man. The research says they're wrong. When scientists sat in real bars and watched real interactions, they found that about 2 out of every 3 times, it was the woman who sent the opening signal. The man just walked over and thought it was his idea. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. Researchers at the University of Kansas ran an experiment where strangers had real conversations, and afterwards, they checked who was actually flirting. When a woman was genuinely flirting, men noticed it only 36% of the time. She starts it 2 out of 3 times, and you miss it 2 out of 3 times. That's not an accident. Her signals are engineered to be invisible because they have to be deniable. So today, we're cracking the code. Female flirting runs on 4 levels: subtle, verbal, direct, and a 4th level that most dating advice gets completely wrong. In the first minutes of an interaction, women almost never flirt with words. They flirt with their body, and in 2020, researchers actually managed to isolate the flirt face. Head turned slightly to one side, tilted a little bit down, a small smile, and the eyes cut forward, locked on you. They mapped it using the same facial coding system scientists use for universal emotions like fear and anger. It's that consistent, and each piece of that face has its own logic. The head tilt exposes the neck, and you don't expose your neck to something you consider a threat. It's a comfort signal. Then there's the slow blink. Holding the eyes closed just slightly longer than normal is a trust signal that runs deep in the animal kingdom. Cat owners know this one. Cats slow blink at people they're bonded to. Behaviorists literally call it a cat kiss, but some signals are even faster. There's a move called the eyebrow flash, a rapid raise of the eyebrows that lasts about a 1/6 of a second, fired off the moment she spots someone attractive. Researchers have found it in cultures all over the world. It's pre-conscious. She doesn't even know she's doing it, and unless you know to look for it, you will never catch it. And then there's the one signal she physically cannot fake or hide: her pupils. Attraction dilates them automatically. In classic experiments, men rated women with dilated pupils as more attractive and couldn't explain why. Women actually figured this out centuries before science did. In Renaissance Italy, women dripped belladonna into their eyes to force their pupils wide open. The name literally means beautiful woman. They were chemically faking an attraction cue 500 years before anyone knew what a pupil response was. Beyond the face, a researcher named Monica Moore spent years observing women in social settings and cataloged over 50 distinct courtship signals. The most frequent ones: smiles, repeated glances, laughter, and the solitary dance where she dances alone in your direct line of sight. That's not her enjoying the music. That's an invitation with a countdown timer on it. One more rule, and it's the golden one: never read a single cue in isolation. Body language analysts work in clusters, groups of at least 3 signals appearing together. Her laughing at your joke means nothing by itself. Her laughing at your joke while touching your shoulder while tilting her head, that's not a coincidence. That's a cluster. It's flirting. Here's a question nobody asks. Why does flirting even exist? Why can't 2 people just say, "I like you"? It would save everyone years of confusion. The answer is rejection insurance. For most of human history, we lived in communities small enough that everybody knew everybody. Get directly rejected in a village of 150 people, and everyone hears about it by sunset. For women, the stakes were even higher. A woman who initiated, approached, and got turned down risked being branded as desperate by her entire social world. So humans evolved a workaround: an encrypted language. Good flirting is specific enough to say "I'm interested," but vague enough that if it goes wrong, both sides can pretend nothing ever happened. So how do you decrypt it? Researchers analyzed roughly 140,000 words of real conversations between singles and found that essentially all verbal flirting falls into just 6 buckets: imagining a future together, talking about the conversation itself, self-praise, humor, sexual innuendo, and compliments. The number 1 category for both men and women: the imagined future. We should totally go there sometime, because a hypothetical date is the safest flirt in existence. It's a plan and a joke at the same time, depending on how you react. So here's your practical filter. When you're not sure if she's flirting, listen for 4 of the 6: imagined futures, compliments, self-praise, and innuendo. Ignore humor as evidence. Flirty jokes and friendly jokes are indistinguishable, and that's exactly why she uses them. There have been thousands of seductive actresses in Hollywood history. There was exactly one Marilyn Monroe. Her story starts long before the fame, when she was an overlooked kid in a Los Angeles orphanage. According to Robert Greene's research on her life, everything changed the day her worn-out school blouse fell apart, and she had to borrow a much smaller sweater from a younger girl. She showed up to school, and for the first time in her life, boys orbited her everywhere she went. That day, she learned something most people never consciously learn. Attention can be engineered, but when she reached Hollywood, looks weren't enough. She was surrounded by beautiful women, so she built a second weapon. Monroe noticed that men treated her better when she played slightly dumber and clumsier than she actually was, so she leaned in, hard. Every iconic Monroe character has that wide-eyed, helpless innocence, a persona that made every man in the audience feel like her lover and her rescuer at the same time. Off camera, she was reportedly ferociously sharp. Her movies are mostly forgotten. She isn't. That's how well it worked, and that same mechanism runs in everyday life. Relationship researchers have long observed that women often share small problems, or act a little more helpless than they really are, around a man they like. Not because they need rescuing, but because it manufactures a reason to interact with you and casts you in the helper role. So if a girl gets soft, giggly, and mysteriously bad at simple tasks whenever you're around, that's level 3. That's the green light. But before you go, here's the level that breaks everything I just taught you. Around 2010, communication researchers discovered that people don't all flirt the same way. There are 5 distinct flirting styles: physical, traditional, sincere, playful, and polite, and 2 of those styles wreck the standard advice. First, the polite and traditional flirts. A polite style woman who genuinely likes you will produce almost none of the signals from this video. No touches, no innuendo. She'll look formal, reserved, almost cold. Most dating advice tells you that means no interest. The research says it might just mean she flirts in a dialect you were never taught. With her, don't look for sparks. Look for consistency. Does she keep showing up? Does she remember the small details you mentioned 3 weeks ago? That's her signal. Second, the playful flirts. These are the false positives. Playful style people flirt with everyone, constantly, as a form of fun, with zero romantic intent behind it. Every guy who ever said, "but she was totally into me," got burned by a playful flirt. So here's the real skill. Before you decode her signals, decode her style. Signals tell you what she's doing. Style tells you what it means. And if you've read every level and she's still giving you nothing, then the problem might not be her signals. It might be what you're bringing to the table. Luckily, I made a video on exactly that.